Okay, we are live.
Okay.
Wait, just making sure that I was able to do what I need to do and not forget anything. Okay. Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to another Community Connect Facebook Live session. Once again, my name is Diana, and we have another guest joining us here who I will be introducing uh, later. But yeah, let me just check Facebook right now if we already have a few viewers, or to those who will be watching the recording of this. Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day you are connecting with us. So once again, feel free to jump in, join the conversation, comment, ask questions. There's always the comment section in whatever platform you are seeing us or watching us, because later on we're also going to be posting this or the recording of this in our YouTube channel, because live videos are only available for 30 days and then it will be gone. So we need to save it before Facebook takes it down. But anyway, so those are just a few of our preliminaries. So this is the second live or community connect for this month. So just to recap, the last one we did is about zero click searches. So if you haven't seen that, it's still available in the Facebook group, so make sure to watch that. If not, later on we will also share a YouTube link to that one. It's very interesting because you probably have noticed your website traffic is down because of this thing called zero click searches. What's happening? What's the shift? What you can do, and so on. So that's the last one. But this time we're gonna be talking about trust centered messaging. Okay, so if we have any viewers already joining us, we can start with, have you ever seen an offer that felt too good to be true? So you're scrolling social media, or you've seen a Google ad, or wherever you are, in online. So what made it feel that way? So you can share your experience, your thoughts with us in the comments section. And as you do, let's start right off the bat, and allow me to introduce the person who's with me right now. You're already seeing him on camera. So we have Stephen Platty over here. Stephen has spent more than 2 decades working in sales and marketing, helping businesses grow by improving how they connect with customers and turn interest into results. And throughout his career, he has worked with a wide variety of businesses, local B2C companies, to even large B2B manufacturers. So it has given him broad perspective on what actually works across different industries. So currently, he is in marketing and sales with Lojo Marketing, and Lojo helps attract clients or the right customers and build systems that generate consistent growth. And today we're going to talk about trust centered messaging. Stephen, I'm not gonna, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna preempt that, but there's more to that in
Yeah.
the conversation. Because today what we're going to do is just like, back and forth conversation, no presentation. It's just Stephen and I were just gonna be talking about this specific topic. Okay. So, yeah, trust centered messaging. What does that mean, Stephen? And why does that matter right now?
Well, I appreciate the intro and yeah, appreciate being here. And that's a great question. Trust-centered messaging. It's not a topic I think that people necessarily identify it as trust-centered messaging. And a lot of the things that we'll be talking about are kind of intuitive and it's kind of the way things should be. So anyway, when you ask the question of what does it mean, what is it, why does it matter, right now in today's market? Well, there's a couple reasons. I think the first reason is that consumers are pretty darn informed. I mean, you have
Mm-hmm.
Chat GPT, you got Google, you got Siri, you got information right at your fingertips. So you can figure out information at a very rapid rate. The other thing is that brings a little bit of skepticism. I mean, I was talking with somebody the other day and just showed them a little Sora video that I did. And, the first question, this person hadn't seen a Sora video, and he's like, "Is that
Mm-hmm.
real?" And, that is it's a question that comes up is as we see things today, we don't know if it's real. And I was looking at this Facebook post and it was talking about how these sharks have like metallic implants and it shows a picture of this
Mm-hmm.
megalodon tooth and like this steel shaft or mechanism coming out of it. And I was like, wow, that's weird looking. And then I realized, oh, yeah, they just asked AI. They gave it a description, and that was an AI image. But for a moment there, I mean, I was like, oh, that's really cool. I mean, I was thinking that that was a real image, but of course it's not. So we are all skeptical to some degree of
Yeah.
things that are out there in the marketplace. So the other thing is people, I think they aren't buying claims. They're kind of buying certainty or a belief in something. So they really have to trust the person or the company that they're buying from, and that's what causes them to make that decision. And that trust is like a primary driver for what's going on, meaning that if you don't you got to believe that either that person, that company is going to provide the service that they say they're going to, or you have to believe that that product will perform and do what it is that you want it to do. Otherwise, you just don't have the trust and you won't make the purchase. So I think that's really where we're at as far as why it matters.
Actually, there's this thing about, I'm not sure if you have seen this on Instagram. I think it's become a big thing, especially in the US, about the monk videos,
Okay.
teaching ancient wisdom. And they have a lot of followers. Then apparently it's AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's got some following, and then some time later, oh no, it's AI. So I forgot the name exactly of the name of the monk, but for some time there's been a huge following because this monk is teaching ancient wisdom, and a lot of people are looking for alternatives right now. As you have mentioned, we are more informed, and we are unlearning things that and at the same time learning and going back to the things of the past. That's why, alternative things related to the environment,
Yeah.
the activism and stuff, people are more concerned about that. So I remembered that thing about that famous monk in
Yeah.
Instagram. Okay, but now, okay, so you talked about trust-centered messaging, and also the one of the main reason is that consumers are now more informed. So let's back up a bit about traditional marketing. So what are you seeing in the market, in terms of, traditional marketing approaches that no longer work because of this thing about consumer behavior?
Okay. Yeah. So if we look at traditional marketing, marketing has like an evolution where you're you're going out there and you're telling people about your product or service, right? And you're trying to build it up and everybody says that they're the best. Everybody says that this is the thing that you want and that sort of thing. And what it leads to is over polishing that message and that makes it seem fake. And the best example that I've seen recently of that is some ads that I've gotten from like Temu. And
Mm-hmm,
now I'm
mm-hmm.
not knocking Temu, but I see some of these ads and I'm like, man, they put a lot into these. And they're trying to just sell you anything and everything. And the other thing that people are doing in marketing is they're utilizing automations, and automations can be wonderful, but if they're done wrong, then that leads to very impersonal messages that come, or messages that come at not a good time, and that sort of thing. And what that all leads to is that people just don't trust. They don't trust that, okay, that's good, because, like, let's say I've already bought something and then I get the same messaging that comes out to me that says, hey, you need to buy that product again, or you need to buy that product. I'm like, well, they must know that I was interested in it, but it just comes off as, very impersonal. So, and then you talked about like the too good to be true offer. That's a
Mm-hmm.
thing of traditional marketing, is you want to put your best foot forward. You want to represent what your company does, but you don't want people to say no. And so you end up either embellishing on it, or you're hitting on all of the points, and it just comes across as a little bit too good to be true.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those are mistakes that people make of a natural nature. It's not something that they go out and do, um, maliciously, or they're trying to deceive people, or trying to, get a bunch of business and that sort of thing. But it's because of those that have done that that it leads to, well, that offer is too good to be true. And I'll just give you a brief example.
Yeah.
My son, he's in he's in the military, and he's serving as a Marine in San Diego. Okay. And he was talking about moving to Tennessee and being where I'm at. And one of the things is he wants to buy a truck. And so he's been looking on Facebook Marketplace and, searching for vehicles. And he sends me this message of, oh, here's this truck and it's got low mileage and they only want like, $7,000 for it and things like that. And he's like, can you call this person up, or can you, look into that? And I'm like, Ben, it's not real. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like, what do you mean? I mean, the guy's got pictures on there. I'm like, yeah, but look at the pictures, and you don't see a license plate, or it doesn't have any other information that's on there about condition of the vehicle. It doesn't have a phone number to connect with them, or, not necessarily the phone number, because there are certain restrictions on that. But anyway, I'm looking at it and I'm like, this isn't real. And I can tell that it isn't, but you know, he was like, hey, this is a legit deal. So now when he looks at things, he's a little bit jaded, because he's like, yeah, that's probably too good to be true. Or if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So, and doing those things, that causes us to burn out. And yeah, we just have a higher guard that's put up.
Yeah, I can relate, but on the other side of the coin, my parents. When
Yeah.
it comes to seeing things online, so yes, on one side, consumers are educated and more informed, especially those that have exposure to the internet. But there are also some people who need, let's say, training in this aspect. And we have a comment in Facebook from Growth Genie 360, and because you talked about automation. So
Hmm.
I think this is just a thought that's supporting when you mention automation. Automate for efficiency, humanize for connection. Use
Yeah.
automation for repetitive tasks, and people for moments that need empathy and trust. Yeah, that's good. Always a balance of the automation and then the human aspect.
Yeah. And I think that's a perfect point, because the thing is we have automation. It's a wonderful thing. We need to utilize it in order to buy back our time. And if
Yeah,
we're not doing that, we're not going to be successful in our business. But we have to be careful of doing exactly what the comment said, of we need to make it so that it is buying back our time, instead of when it needs the personal touch, that's when we have the personal touch.
I agree. And that also needs learning and, yeah, skill to be able to balance that
Yeah.
side. I mean, automation and the human aspect.
Yeah,
Okay,
for sure.
so let's talk about shifting. So now we understood that trust centered messaging is the thing now because of consumer behavior, which also means that traditional marketing doesn't really work anymore. So for our the businesses and the brands that are listening, watching to us right now, what should they be doing differently if they want to build trust?
Okay. So this is where the rubber meets the road, and it's more of a deeper thing than just marketing. Because when we talk about trust-centered messaging or trust-centered marketing, it really comes back down to how is the business built itself. And what you're trying to do, once again, in marketing is take the aspects of the business that people don't know about and expose those so that people understand this is what we do, this is what we offer, and this is how you can obtain that. And if you break it down to that level, then it really needs to be what is what is it that I'm offering? What does that offer look like? And is it something that's genuine? Because
Mm-hmm.
when we talk about trust, it really comes down to how genuine is it? And I think at heart, business owners, we are we are genuine and we're passionate about what it is that we do. Okay.
For sure. Yeah.
And we need that to come across, but we also need to have the setup of our business to be able to make that happen. And so how that works is you kind of asked how do you do that? First is transparency, is showing how things actually work. And some examples would be and in the way of transparency, I'll just talk about reviews for a minute. Okay.
Okay.
So some people, if you're first starting out your business, you probably don't have a bunch of reviews. And the question comes up quite commonly of should I just buy some, meaning get somebody to write some reviews and things like that. And that's not a recommended path to go down because it's not a genuine thing. Versus if you're a new business, then be transparent about that. You can say, hey, we are starting out. I have this experience. This is what it is that we are offering. And this is how we're going to fulfill on that offer. And then put that out into the market and get those few customers. We all can't be legacy businesses that have been around for, 20, 30 years and we have just a ton of good reviews. So instead of being disingenuine and having people, create reviews and things like that, just be more transparent and that creates trust. Okay.
And
So
I
that's one.
just wanted to note very quickly, Google actually penalizes that. So
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
don't do that.
If it And if it comes out that you get penalized by Google, you lose trust from your customers. I mean, a
Uh-huh.
whole bunch of bad stuff happens. So it's always, yeah, best practice is just be honest. But it's very tempting because we all want to have that social
Yep.
proof of, you know what, we're good. Come work with us. So the other thing is along with that transparency, and it's kind of along the similar vein, but it's breaking down the process of this is exactly what happens when you work with us. If you give those people those step by step things to expect, then that's what it is that they're looking for. So if you're a company out there that does work with excavation, okay, and let's say you're putting in driveways and that sort of thing, and you you can do most driveways in a day, then you be transparent about that and you say, hey, most driveways, they take us a day in order to accomplish. Okay. So what you're doing is you're putting out there something that you can realistically fulfill on. You're giving people an expectation of what it takes time-wise, or you can put in there messaging about, this is how much gravel it takes in order to do a gravel driveway or whatever. You can break down that process for them so that they can see that, yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more than him saying, we got the best driveways ever. Come, it's
Yeah.
like, use us and that sort of thing. You're breaking down that process and giving people a peek behind this is what it takes. And that leads to trust because people can see that process and they realize that, all right, there's more steps involved instead of snapping my fingers and then I get the smoothest, best, most compact driveway ever. Okay. So, um, but that does lead us into another point of like case studies. So, doing case studies similar to reviews, a little bit different because a review is more of an endorsement recommendation, where a case study is you're telling a story about what happened and you're teaching through those real life examples of this is what my product did, or this is what my service did for these people. And if a potential customer sees that, then they see it through the eyes of, all right, well, if they did it for them, they can do it for me. Okay. And then I'd say one of the final ones is just having clear expectations. So we want to set those expectations of this is what we do, and this is what you can expect once you engage with us. Okay. And that comes in the form of time frames, like what effort is required, even potentially, what could go wrong if things don't go the way that they should go. You're giving people that expectation. And this is, yeah, this is like life 101 is clear expectations. If we don't do that, then
Yeah.
people just don't know what to expect. I have this almost every single weekend with my kids where I'm like, hey, well, let's go out and work in the yard. And they're like, well, we didn't know we were expected to do this. So it's like I got to build it up beforehand throughout the week of, hey, I think we got a couple things coming on and this is what we're going to do. And then they know that, all right, this is what is expected. And then it's not quite a shock when that happens.
Mhm.
So, but if we're transparent, if we're breaking things down for people, we're giving them examples, we're setting those clear expectations, there's a lot of trust that comes with that. And they can tell that you're being genuine and, you know, they should engage with your business.
Okay, so Stephen mentioned four things: transparency, having a process breakdown. So you can have that as pages in your website. Make sure that it's
Mhm.
stipulated in your website. And then you can also have your case study as the third one, case study, and then clear expectations. And I just wanted to add to that. Actually, I'm going back to the thought that we're talking about. Consumers are smarter now, and there are even some people who make videos or reviews about how legit something is. So you were
Mhm.
sharing your experience earlier. So I just so I was looking at this like supplement, and there's a Reddit thread asking, hey, is this legit? And then I also saw a YouTube video talking about, is this supplement a scam? Like talking about the process. In the website, it looks good, the reviews looks good, but if you look at them at Trustpilot, there's no review. So in their website, they talk about their customers having reviews about them, but when you go out on a third party review site. So again, it's just like, you know, um this is how your customers, or this is how consumers behave these days. I heard in one of the webinars that I've watched, it's messy now because they read it one platform, and then they go to ChatGPT, and then they go to Amazon and things like that to have a more informed decision
Yeah.
about a certain purchase or a certain transaction. And
See,
yeah, it's important
so
for these things to be set in place. Yeah, go ahead, Stephen.
and I can empathize. I can empathize with this, supplement company. Let's say you have a new supplement and, you've done some testing and I'm assuming, I don't know how you go through the supplement, selling process, but I'm assuming you go through lab testing and, you go through some trials and things like that. And then
Yeah.
you're saying that, hey, this is what it does. This is really good stuff. And you don't have a bunch of reviews out there and it's
Mm-hmm.
it's very tempting in order to build it up and be like, well, this is the best thing since sliced bread. But it's how do you get there while still building trust? Because it may be more of a slow roll to where you have some test groups or things of that nature that you give people um, some of these things and you're looking for what is your honest feedback on that. And then you can use that in your marketing and say that
Mm-hmm.
this is what we did. We went out and we're new to the market. We figured you won't believe, any of the claims that we have. So we took, these groups of people and we gave them these supplements, and this is what it is that happened with that. And we asked them, what is your honest feedback? And
Mm-hmm.
you're telling that story of this is what we did because this is what we know our product does. And that would go a long way with me if I was looking for that type of a supplement because I would say that, all right, well, this is new. That makes sense. They don't have an immediate, okay, we got 1 million bottles sold and, that type of thing. They don't have any of that. So they're coming up with another way in order to let me know that this really works. And then maybe they put an offer behind that of saying that if it doesn't work for you or you're not
Mm-hmm.
completely satisfied, then we'll refund the money. They do a risk reversal or something of that
Yeah.
nature. So that's where I come back to it's almost in the way that your company's set up is how you can then take your company setup and then turn it into trust-centered marketing.
I agree. Okay, now let's talk about practical. Uh, we're gonna wrap this up in a bit, and with all these things that we have been going back and forth, sharing thoughts and insights. So for those people who are listening right now and who wanted to improve at least something today, what can be a starting point? Because there's a lot, those the four things you've mentioned are general things, but let's give them something as kind of like simple, practical things that they can start doing today.
Okay. So yeah, there's a couple things that you can do today. So instead of saying something in your claim of like we get results fast, change that to say here's how our process works over a 30-day period or a 60-day period. You can just be more explanatory in, once again, how the process works instead of making a claim because people aren't buying the claim, they're buying the
Mm-hmm.
trust. Okay. Another thing is you can add friction and you can do this on purpose. And what I mean by that is you're qualifying. You're saying maybe this isn't right for you. And
Yeah.
this is who it is. This is who it's right for. And what that does is that builds credibility because you're not saying that this is the magic bullet that solves all problems. You're saying this particular buyer, this is who this is for, and this is who it works well for. Okay. And then the other thing is if you're not doing this already, show some of that behind the scene magic, give people a peek behind the door of this is where we're at in the company. This is how we fulfill on things. If people can actually see how it's made, and other than
Yeah.
probably hot dogs or things like that, they're more likely to say, oh, okay, I get it. And they come to you because they want you to do the service, and they're not looking to necessarily do it themselves. So don't be afraid to give a peek behind the curtain of this is how we do that. And then lastly, it's just common sense. Use real language. Talk like a human. Don't talk like a brand, and think of things as this is my target audience. I'm saying it in a manner that it would be like us sitting down having a conversation like this.
Yeah. And just to add to the behind the scenes, and this is mostly for social media. I've been seeing a lot of service businesses who are actually showing their process. For example, a cleaning company. I've seen a lot of rug cleaning videos
Yeah.
in social media. Mowing companies like
Yeah,
showing actual.
I'm guilty of the lawn service guys. I'm like just sit there and watch the guy do work.
Yeah, I know. It's sometimes actually it's therapeutic. You see how they work. So, and on another aspect of that that can also increase engagement to
Yeah,
your brand.
100%. And then if you're
Okay. Yeah.
monetizing your views and things like that, that's an additional stream of revenue. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it
You
can
can
work
monetize.
several ways. Yep.
Okay. So, we've touched a lot of things in a short time that we have today. Talking about trust-centered messaging, how traditional marketing doesn't work now, and then Stephen has given a few tips that you can start implementing today. And if you have any questions, you can drop that in the comment. If we end the stream today, our team will always go back and respond to your comments or questions or thoughts or insights. You can always, share with us. Or if there's any topic in the future that you want us to cover for our Community Connect, we're all ears as well. Stephen, any final thoughts that you want to leave to our audience?
No, I mean, I'll I'll just end with I know people, once again, I know business owners, their hearts are in the right place. We're all trying to do the best thing. Sometimes
Mm.
it's hard to see the forest between the trees. And so that last point of that I brought up of just talk like a human, be like a human to human interaction. If you think of everything in that lens, then that's going to help you with this whole process of if I had a friend that was telling me about a particular product or service, how would that sound? And yeah, I should probably follow those guidelines for representing my brand and my business and that sort of thing in that way.
Very much. Okay, I agree with the thing that you have said, and I think for me the key takeaway is really about the topic itself, trust. It's a big thing now.
Yeah.
And at the same time, when that trust is broken, sometimes it's so difficult to um to repair that trust. But well, there are ways to always do something and grow that trust for your brand or for your business. So hopefully we were able to help you, and this is something that you can use to grow your business. And I think that will be all for this session. And with that, of course, we already had the 2 sessions for the month of March, and we look forward to seeing more of you engaging with us in next month. And at the same time, we're also open to feedback. You can always give any feedback in the comments section, especially to the members of our community. Tell us how we do, if if this thing that we're doing is helpful or not, because we always want to build trust as well. Thank you
Right.
once again. Yeah, right, we want to build trust. Okay, thank you so much, people. This is Diana. Thank you, Stephen, for your time, and
Thank you.
we'll have Stephen once again in our future sessions.
All right.
Okay, give me a moment and I will be ending the live video. Bye, guys.